So our slider, we're going to look at creating this geometry to create this type of view in the drawing or to have it insert into the assembly in semi-correct orientation. We're going to draw this sketch on the right plane. So 16 millimeters overall, 12 millimeters. So one of the techniques I like to use for this type of shape is to draw the rectangle. The bottom line becomes a construction line or a center line, and then we create the arc and put the hole in to create the geometry. So back into our new part. Let's go ahead and center that. And on the right plane, let me back up there just a second. So one of the tools that we have is maybe I realize that I've created this sketch on the front plane. So we'll go ahead and put in our geometry. Let's see, haven't used the right mouse button sketch entities just yet, which is similar to the S key, which is similar to the command manager. I find that when I have collapsed the command manager, I tend to use this sketch entities a little bit more. So I'm just going to draw the rectangle kind of free out in space. Get out of the sketch command by going to select, and then select the origin, control select the line, and set a midpoint. As I mentioned, I can then change the bottom line over to a center line or construction line, whichever terminology you prefer. And we're going to go into the sketch entities and find the tangent arc. And the tangent arc requires some existing geometry to start with. You can't just freeform a tangent arc, pretty much by its definition. So let's right click and select, and I do the right click and select without even really thinking about it. So if I go to the S key, it has the same type of effect. So I'm going to go into the circle, and we get it close enough that I'm ready to start adding dimensions. So a lot of those relations were inferred. We have 16 millimeters across for the height, 12 millimeters for the width. And if I put in the 6 millimeters for the hole location, keep in mind that's going to be an over-defining condition because that midpoint already exists. I don't need that dimension, but if I want it there for reference, I can make this dimension driven and leave it for visibility purposes. So 8 millimeters on the hole, and then I think I want to do the mid plane again. So let's right click this time and extrude boss base, and I'm going to set it to the mid plane, and we have 30 millimeters overall. Now the advantage of doing this is with the origin still at the center, when I put in that little dowel pin hole, drilled hole, it's going to be at the origin. So we place that, and then I do the isometric and go, oh hey, I would have really liked that to have been on the other plane. So I can right click on that sketch, and instead of editing the sketch, right next to it we have a button that says edit the sketch plane. So if I click on that, it's going to say, well, you're currently in the front plane, so where do you want to be, the top plane or the right plane? And depending on your geometry, it can kind of rotate and do some strange things. But I would say keep picking and let it let it kind of figure it out. The best process is going to be to get into that habit of selecting, or if it's too complicated, we just leave it where it's at and we worry about the assembly and the drawing later. So let's go with the S key again, and we will be in the simple, and this is a 5 millimeter deep. So we'll scroll up a little ways here, could probably type that in faster. And instead of up to next, it's going to be a blind end condition to the shoulder and 5 millimeters deep. And then for position, we're just going to place it on the origin. So if something were to change and I needed to break that relation, add a dimension, shift it, I would need to remove that coincident relation, and then I would have access control back to our piece. And we'll just make sure to save this. And this is the slider.